Level 1. Negative $41,000. You add it up on a Tuesday night, and you've never done it before, and there's a reason you've never done it before. You know the individual numbers. You've always known them separately, which is how you survive them. The card is a number you know. The other card is a number you know. The car is a number. The loan from your brother is a number. The thing from 3 years ago that went to collections is a number you know the way you know a sound in the house at night, which is to say you know it and you don't look at it. Tonight you write them all on one piece of paper. $41,200. You sit back. The paper is not large. It took 11 lines. 11 lines that add up to more than you have made in a year, and you are looking at your entire life in a column. And the column has a total, and the total has a minus sign in front of it. That's the first thing this level does. It makes the invisible visible, and the visible is so much worse than the invisible that most people never do the addition. They keep the numbers separate on purpose. Separately, they're survivable. Together, they're a verdict. You feel something arrive that isn't panic. It's shame, and it's specific, and it has a shape. The shame says this is a document about your character. It says a person with better discipline would have a different piece of paper. It says everyone you know is somewhere above this line, and you are below it because of something wrong inside you. Look at the 11 lines again, because the 11 lines are the answer. The medical thing. The car that had to be fixed to keep the job that pays for the car. The months your hours got cut, and the card became food. The card you opened because your credit was bad at 26%, because bad credit means you pay more for money, which means you fall further behind, which makes your credit worse. There's a line or two on there that's yours. A stupid thing. Everyone has one. But you are looking at 11 lines and calling all 11 a personal failing. And 9 of them are just what happens when a person without a cushion meets a world that assumes one. The debt is not proof of what you did wrong. Most of it is the receipt for what happened to you. Now here's the part that actually matters, and it's the thing this entire climb is about. You have an employee. There's a version of this story people tell about wealth, where you save money and the money earns money and it works for you forever without sleeping. A second worker. Compounding. You have one of those. Yours works for the other side. $41,000 at an average of 22% is $9,000 a year in interest. $9,000 every year, taken out of your life, produced by nothing, delivered to someone who has never met you. That's $750 a month before you have paid down one single dollar of the actual debt. He never sleeps. He never gets sick. He works weekends and holidays and the entire time you are asleep, and he gets a raise every time your balance goes up, and he has been on the clock for years. That's why it feels like running. You are running. You've been running the whole time, and the ground has been moving backward underneath you at $750 a month. And nobody told you that the exhaustion you feel is not weakness, it's a treadmill with a motor. You look at the paper for a long time, and then you fold it and put it in a drawer. But you don't throw it away. That's the whole level, right there, in the not throwing it away. You don't have a problem at negative $41,000. You have a number, and for the first time it's a number instead of a fog. Level 2. Negative $38,000. You pay the minimums for 4 months, and then you check the total, and the total has moved by $3,000, and you paid in something like 5. You check it twice. You do the arithmetic on the back of an envelope like a man who thinks he's found a mistake in a bank software. There's no mistake. $2,000 of what you paid went to your employee. He worked, he got paid first, and what was left over went to the actual debt. This is the moment where most people stop and understand this clearly, because you're going to feel it in a minute and you need to know what it is when it arrives. The minimum payment is not designed to get you out. It's designed to keep you in, comfortably, for as long as possible. It is priced at exactly the level a person can sustain forever, which is the point. A payment you can make forever is a payment you will make forever. You look up what happens if you only pay minimums on the biggest card. The answer comes back in years, and the number of years is a joke. It's longer than you've been an adult. You will be paying for a refrigerator in a decade where refrigerators look different. The despair that hits here is a specific one, and it is not the same as the despair at level 1. Level 1 despair was about the size. This is worse. This is the despair of discovering that effort is not the variable. You have been paying. Every month. On time mostly. You've been doing what a responsible person does, and it has moved you almost nowhere. And if effort isn't the lever, then what exactly are you supposed to pull? Here's what you're supposed to pull, and it's the only thing that works, and it's why this level exists. You have to fire the employee before you can pay the debt. Not all at once. One card. The one with the highest rate. The small vicious one with the 29% that you've been ignoring because the balance is small. Everything you can find goes there. Not spread across all 11 lines. All of it, at one line, until it's gone. It takes 5 months, and it's the most boring 5 months of your life. Nothing happens. The total barely moves because you're attacking one line and the others are still standing there. Anyone looking at your net worth would say you accomplished nothing. Then the card hits zero and something changes that doesn't show up in the total. Your monthly interest drops by $90. $90 a month is now yours. It's a raise. Nobody gave it to you, no manager approved it, and it will continue for the rest of your life. You just fired a worker who was stealing $90 a month from you, and you get to keep his wages permanently. That's the mechanism. That's the whole climb, and it runs in reverse of everything you've ever heard about money. Rich people compound forward. Every dollar they save hires a worker who earns for them, and the workers hire workers, and it accelerates. You are compounding backward, towards zero, and every dollar you pay fires a worker who was stealing from you, and the firing accelerates too. Slowly, at first, so slowly it's invisible. But the same math that builds fortunes is the math that's now working on your behalf, running the other direction. You don't have progress at negative $38,000. You have $90 a month that used to belong to someone else. Level 3, negative $32,000. You have to tell someone. Not because it helps mathematically, because you have been carrying this alone for years, and the aloneness has started to cost more than the interest. You pick one person. You've thought about who for weeks, running the calculation on each name, which is a calculation you've never had to run about anything else. Who will look at me differently? Who will tell someone? Who will help in a way that makes it worse? You tell them the number, not a version of the number. The number. Here's what you expect. You expect the face to change. You have been imagining that face for years, the reorganization behind the eyes, the recalibration of who they thought you were. It's the reason you never told anyone. You were protecting yourself from a face. The face doesn't change. They say something ordinary. They say that's a lot, or they say okay, or they ask a practical question about the rates. And then, and this is the part that undoes you, they tell you a number of their own. Smaller or bigger, but real and previously invisible, and carried the same way you've been carrying yours. You have been surrounded, this entire time, by people running the same calculation about you. That's the thing about this specific kind of debt. Everyone hides it, so everyone thinks they're the only one, so everyone hides it harder. The silence is the product. It's what allows a completely ordinary condition to feel like a private moral failure, and it's why nobody makes videos about the climb from negative 41,000 to zero. There's no status in it. There's nothing to display. You cannot post about the day your interest dropped by $90. Then the harder conversation happens, and this one is not with a friend. You have to say the words out loud in your own life. You have to tell people no. A wedding you can't afford to attend the way you'd be expected to attend it. A trip everyone's taking. A dinner where the bill gets split evenly and your share of everyone else's wine is $30 you were going to put at a 29% line. At level 1 you would have gone. You'd have gone and put it on the card and hated yourself in the car afterward, because the alternative was saying the true sentence, and the true sentence was unsayable. The dinner is the hard one, because the dinner has a table. You sit there watching the bill arrive, and you already know what's coming. The reach for the card, the round number divided by 7. The assumption baked into the whole ritual that everyone at the table has the same relationship with $100. You had the salad. You had water. Your share of the evening was $19, and your share of the bill is going to be $60. You say it now. You say some version of it anyway. Money's tight right now. I'm sitting this one out. 2 people are weird about it. Everyone else says fine. And you understand that the thing you were terrified of, the exposure, cost you 2 mildly awkward conversations and bought you your entire climb. Because a man who cannot say that sentence cannot get out of debt, ever, at any income. You start finding money in strange places, and none of it is dramatic. The subscription you forgot. The insurance you never shopped. The phone plan you've had since a version of yourself who cared about it. Nothing here is a sacrifice, exactly. It's just that you never audited any of it, because auditing it required believing there was a point. $200 a month found. It goes to the next card. You don't have shame at negative $32,000. You have 2 awkward conversations and the entire rest of your life. Level 4. Negative $24,000. $17,000 paid off. And nothing has changed. That's the level. That's the whole thing you have to survive here. And it's the most dangerous stretch of the entire climb, and nobody warns you about it because it has no drama in it. Your life looks identical to the way it looked at negative 41,000. Same apartment, same car, same clothes. Nobody has noticed. Nobody has said anything. Nobody could tell you apart from the man you were 2 years ago. You have destroyed $17,000 of debt, and there is no evidence. If you had spent that $17,000, everyone would know. There'd be a car in the driveway. There'd be photos. People would have reacted, congratulated, envied. You'd have been visible. Instead, you spent it on the removal of something. And removal is invisible, and the world has no ceremony for a man who is less negative than he was. That's why this climb is the one nobody talks about. Not because it's rare, because it cannot be displayed. Every other financial journey produces artifacts. This one produces the absence of things, and an absence can't be posted. The voice arrives here, and it's reasonable, which is what makes it work. The voice says you've been at this for 2 years, and you have nothing. No savings, no assets, nothing you can point to. 2 years of denying yourself, and your net worth is still a minus sign. What if you just quietly stopped? Went back to minimums? Let it ride? Bought something? The voice is not wrong that you have nothing. The voice is wrong about what nothing means. Look at what actually happened in those 2 years. Your interest was $750 a month. It's now $440. You have taken $310 a month permanently from the other side. That's $3,700 a year that stopped leaving your life, and it will never leave again. And the $17,000 you paid didn't just remove $17,000 of debt. It removed every dollar of interest that $17,000 would have generated for the rest of your life, which, on the timeline you were originally on, is more than the $17,000 itself. You didn't pay off $17,000. You paid off closer to $40,000, and $39,000 of it is invisible because it consists of things that will now never happen. Nobody claps for a thing that will never happen. You start noticing something else at negative $24,000, and it's the first payoff that isn't mathematical. The phone rings with an unknown number, and you answer it. You didn't think about it. You just answered. For years you didn't answer unknown numbers, and you didn't consciously decide that either. You just developed the reflex, the way an animal learns a sound. Somewhere in the last 2 years the reflex left. The mail comes, and you open it standing up, in the kitchen, without doing the thing where you scan the envelopes for the ones with windows. That's the first thing this climb gives back. Not money. It gives back the ordinary, unremarkable ability to interact with the normal machinery of life without a spike of dread, and you don't notice it arriving. You only notice it later, when you realize you stopped bracing. You don't have wealth at negative $24,000. You have the ability to answer your phone. Level 5. Negative $16,000. The emergency comes. It always comes. It comes at the exact moment you have the least tolerance for it, which is not a coincidence, because the moment of least tolerance is most of the moments. Your car, or your tooth, or your kid, or the roof. $2,800, arriving on a Wednesday, into a life that has no cushion because every dollar of cushion has been going to the 11 lines for 3 years. And you have to make a decision here that determines whether the last 3 years survive. You stand in a waiting room, or a garage, or a hallway, and a person you've never met says a number to you in a completely normal voice, the way people say numbers when the number isn't going to change their week. 2,800. They ask how you'd like to handle it. They have a card machine turned toward you and a pleasant expression, and no idea at all that they've just detonated 3 years of work. You have a card with room on it. That's the terrible part. The room exists precisely because you created it. You spent 3 years clearing space on that card, and now there's space, and the space is available, and using it would solve Wednesday completely and instantly. You use it. Most people use it. There's no other option in the moment, and anyone telling you otherwise has never had a Wednesday like this. Negative 16,000 becomes negative 18,800, and the number goes the wrong way for the first time in 3 years. And the voice comes back, and it is screaming. And what it's screaming is that this is a cycle, that you will always be here, that you are not climbing, you are circling, that men like you clear space on cards so that life can refill it. Here's what you need to see, and it takes a clear head to see it on Wednesday night. So see it now instead. The last time this happened, at level 1, that same $2,800 would have gone on to a 29% card and generated $800 a year against you forever. Tonight it went on to an 11% card, because you cleared the vicious ones first, and it generates 300. Same emergency, same amount, less than half the damage. That's what 3 years bought you. Not immunity. Nobody gets immunity. What you bought was a cheaper version of the same disaster, and over a lifetime of disasters, that difference is enormous. And then there's the part that matters more than the math. You go back. The following month you resume. Same payment, same target, on the schedule you've been running for 3 years. You don't restart from motivation, because there isn't any. You restart the way you'd restart a machine that broke, mechanically, because the alternative is not having a machine and you've met the version of your life that doesn't have one. 8 weeks later, the 2,800 is gone and you're back where you were. And the setback that felt like proof of a cycle turns out to have been a detour of 2 months. That's the actual skill in this entire climb, and it is not budgeting and it is not discipline. It's the ability to be knocked backward and return without a story about what it means. The people who never get out are not the people who get knocked back. Everyone gets knocked back. The people who never get out are the ones who let the knockback mean something, who read it as a verdict, who conclude that the universe has an opinion about them, and who stop. You don't have a setback at negative $16,000. You have a 2-month detour and a cheaper class of disaster. Level 6. Negative $9,000. The end is visible now, and visibility is a problem. For 3.5 years this worked because you didn't look. You paid on a schedule because that's what the schedule was for, and the total was somewhere out there in the distance, and the not looking is what made the not stopping possible. Now you can see it. $9,000. That's 14 months. You can hold 14 months in your head. And the moment you can hold it, you start counting it, and counting it makes it slow. But that's not the danger here. Here's the danger. Your interest is down to $110 a month. You started at $750. $640 a month came back to you over 3.5 years, permanently. And your monthly life has slack in it that hasn't been there since your 20s. And the slack feels like victory. The voice changes here, and this is its cleverest form, because it stops attacking you and starts congratulating you. The voice says, look how far you've come. You've been at this for years. You've been so disciplined. You're basically there. 9,000 is nothing compared to 41. You deserve something. Just ease up a little. Take the pressure off. You've earned it. This is where people stall for a decade. Not at 41,000. Here, at 9, with the finish line in sight, when the voice puts on a kind face and offers them a rest. Because the voice is right that you deserve it and wrong about what easing up costs. At $9,000 with your current payment, you are 14 months from zero. Ease up by half and you're 31 months out. And in 31 months something will happen. Something always happens. And the something will find you at 9,000 instead of 0, and the 9,000 will become 15, and the 15 will become the fog again. The distance between 14 months and never is one decision made in a good mood. You keep the payment. You do allow yourself one thing, one real thing, because a man who allows himself nothing for 4 years eventually detonates, and the detonation costs more than the thing. You buy something small. You feel weird about it for a day. Then it's fine. And here, at negative 9,000, you notice the thing that this whole climb has been secretly building, and it isn't the number. You're not afraid of the mail. You answer the phone. You told someone the truth once and survived it. You said no to a wedding. You got knocked back $2,800 and came back in 8 weeks without a story about what it meant. The debt is nearly gone, and it turns out the debt was never the main thing being removed. You don't have money at negative $9,000. You have a set of habits that would be worth having even if you'd never owed a dollar. Level 7. Negative $2,000. $2,000, and it's the longest $2,000 of the whole climb. Mathematically, it's nothing. It's 3 months. It's the smallest number on this entire road, and you have destroyed $39,000 of larger, meaner numbers than this one. It takes forever. Every day of it takes a week. You check the balance daily now, which you haven't done in years. And the checking makes it worse the way watching a kettle makes it slower. You do arithmetic at red lights. You calculate what happens if you skip a thing, sell a thing, pick up a shift. And you catch yourself, 4 years in, $2,000 from the end, looking for a shortcut. That man from level 1 never left. He just went quiet during the part where you were winning. Then something happens that you're not ready for, and nobody warns you about this one at all. You get scared of finishing. It makes no sense and you feel insane for feeling it. So let's name it plainly. For 4 years, this climb has been the organizing structure of your life. Every decision ran through it. Every dollar had a destination. There was no ambiguity about what you were doing with your money or your Saturdays, and that clarity, brutal as it was also a kind of peace. In 3 months, it's over. And then what? Then you're a man at zero, with no plan, in a world that starts every conversation about money at a place you've never been. You know how to fight debt. You've become genuinely skilled at it. You don't know how to build anything, because you've never once had a positive dollar to build with. And the thought of standing at zero with no map is more frightening than the 41,000 ever was, because the 41,000 at least came with instructions. That fear is real, and it means something good, and here's what it means. You are about to become a beginner. For 4 years you were an expert at a thing nobody wanted to be an expert at, and now you're going to be a novice at a thing everyone else started at 22, and that transition is genuinely disorienting. But notice what you're bringing with you. The man who starts saving at zero, having never been in debt, has never been tested. He's never watched a number go the wrong way and returned to the schedule anyway. He's never told anyone a humiliating truth and found out it wasn't fatal. He's never had to pay for 4 years with no evidence, no applause, and no artifact. You have. You spent 4 years learning the single hardest skill in personal finance, which is doing an invisible thing consistently without anyone confirming it matters. Everything after zero is that same skill, pointed in the other direction, with the wind behind you instead of in your face. You don't have 3 months left at negative $2,000. You have 4 years of training and nowhere yet to spend it. Level 8. 0. It happens on a Tuesday afternoon, because it always happens on a Tuesday, because these things never have the courtesy to happen on a day that means anything. You make the last payment. It's small. It's not even a large payment. It's just the last one, $180 into a card that has been on your paper for 4 years. The balance goes to 0. You look at the screen. You wait for the feeling. Nothing. No feeling arrives. For years, $41,000, 11 lines on a piece of paper, and there is no fanfare, no letter, no phone call, no person on the other end who knows what today is. The system that charged you $9,000 a year for the privilege of being behind does not send a note when you stop being behind. It just stops charging you and moves on. You are standing in a kitchen and the number is 0 and it's a Tuesday. Then, about a week later, doing something ordinary, the real one arrives, and it is not triumph. It's the silence. There's a sound that has been running underneath every single day of your life for 4 years and longer, and it's the sound of the number. The low constant awareness of a total, a minus sign, a thing that got worse while you slept and required management every waking hour. It's gone, and the absence is so complete that you only notice it by realizing you've stopped listening for it. That's what 0 is. Not an amount. The end of a sound. You go and find the paper. It's still in the drawer where you put it 4 years ago, folded twice, soft at the creases from a few times you took it out and looked at it and put it back. 11 lines in your own handwriting. You can see, in the pressure of the pen, which lines you wrote first and which one you wrote last. And you remember the exact feeling of writing the total at the bottom. You don't throw it away. You put it back in the drawer. Because in about 2 years you're going to need to show it to somebody who is sitting where you sat, who thinks their paper is a document about their character. And there is no argument on earth as persuasive as another man's folded piece of paper with every line crossed out. Now do the arithmetic, because this is the part that reframes the entire 4 years. Your employee is fired. All of him. The $9,000 a year that was leaving your life, produced by nothing, delivered to strangers, is now money that stays. $750 a month that has been going out for years is now sitting in your hands every single month for the rest of your life. You did not just reach 0. You gave yourself a $750 a month raise, permanently, and no employer was involved, and nobody can take it back or lay you off from it. And the same machine that spent 4 years running against you is now available to run for you. The exact mechanism, reversed. Every dollar you put away from here hires a worker on your side, and the workers hire workers, and it accelerates in your favor the way it accelerated against you for a decade. You have been in a fight with compound interest for your entire adult life. As of a Tuesday afternoon, it changed sides. Here's the last thing, and it's the reason nobody makes this video. Zero is where every other financial story begins. Every book, every video, every plan you have ever seen starts at zero and treats it as the floor, as nothing, as the neutral state a normal person occupies before they begin. Start investing with your extra money, they say. Here's what to do with your first 1,000. They're all speaking to a man standing at zero, and they have never once acknowledged that half the people listening are below the line and would need 4 years of the hardest work of their lives just to arrive at the starting point of the sentence. You just did 4 years of work to reach the place their story opens. That's not a smaller achievement than theirs. It's a larger one performed in the dark, uphill, with a motor running against you, with nothing to show anyone at any point, and no vocabulary in the culture to describe what you were doing. Somewhere right now, someone is sitting at a table with 11 lines on a piece of paper and a total at the bottom with a minus sign in front of it. And they are feeling the shame arrive, and the shame is telling them the paper is a document about their character. It isn't. It's a receipt. Most of those lines are things that happened to them, priced at 26% because they had nothing when they arrived, and the interest has been working against them every night since, and the exhaustion they feel is not weakness. It's a treadmill with a motor. They can fire him, one line at a time, starting with the meanest one, over years, with nobody watching and nobody clapping, until the sound stops. You are the same person at every balance. The minus sign just decided how much of your life belonged to somebody else. Now none of it does.